Hi everyone, it's Catherine. I hope your week is off to a great start. I'm coming on today to talk about three things, maybe more. But the first thing is I want to get started this week really digging into this process that I'm talking about, the shadow work process or method in healing through shadow work. So we're really going to dig into that and start focusing on that in the group and making that kind of like the focus of the group itself. So chapter 1 of the book, I'm gonna actually start reading some of that today, and we're gonna discuss it. The second thing is, like I just mentioned with the group, changing a little bit. We're changing the focus. We're talking about healing through shadow work. It is a method that I have come up with. I wrote a book about it. The book is called Healing Through Shadow Work by me, Catherine Needham. And it's in the, there's a link posted in the announcements section of the group. There's also in the files section of the group a couple of things if you're just getting started with shadow work, maybe you just heard of it and you're like, what's that? It's best to start there, I think, and then poke around in the posts and just look in the group and ask questions. I want the group to start focusing on doing the work. And I know that we're all coming at this from different levels. Some of us are just hearing about shadow work. Some of us are just waking up, whatever that means to you. Waking up and wanting to know more information, what to do. Some of us have been on a spiritual path for a very, very long time, and this shadow work is kind of something I've always done. I just never called it shadow work. So there are a lot of us that do this work and we can call it shadow work. It is a little bit of a buzzword, but we're gonna go with it for now. Because the thing that I'm really realizing is, well, there's just some cool parts of it. The other thing I want to talk about is this upcoming class that I'm holding. It's a 6-week shadow work one-on-one course. So I'll start actually with that, with the course, because people have been asking about it, and I just want to provide some more information. It really is a great way to get into shadow work. But even more so, it's a great way to get into a practice of some sort of spiritual. I'm going to call it spiritual because I define that as your relationship with yourself and whoever and whatever you believe in, that relationship. I think it helps you kind of develop that. If you're trying to develop a practice or a routine and you want to start feeling better, I'm like, all of this is really about feeling better and like showing up better and like just getting out of negative patterns and things. So we're going to get into all of that with this class. And I think probably the best part of the class is that you need support when you do this work. You don't just start looking at your traumas. That's not, shadow work is not just like, let me look at my traumas and be all depressed about my horrible childhood. You have to wrap this in a cocoon of love and of support and of connection with like-minded people, and that is what I'm providing here. I'm somebody that I've healed a lot of my wounds, y'all. I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you. It works. I'm like, don't you want to be like me? I can't promise that you're going to be rich and famous, but you'll be rich in heart and spirit. And you will transform. When you start looking at yourself and scrutinizing yourself from a loving place and from a place of wanting to know yourself and wanting to heal yourself, it's just a game changer. Right now we scrutinize ourselves and we just it leads just to negative self-talk and a lot of negativity. And so we can be on a spiritual path, like I had been on a spiritual path for so long, but you're still not treating yourself right. So there's two things that we're going to really dig into with this class. And part of that is just the concept of we have an outer world and an inner world. The outer world is the world that we live in. Hello, I'm in the outer world talking to you. It's the world, the physical world we live in, the things that we say, the things that we do, and how we treat each other. And so what we're trying to do is understand our inner world, the things that we say to ourselves, the things that we do to ourselves, the relationship we have with ourselves, and how that is connected to the outer world, and vice versa. And so we know it's connected, sorta, like we kind of feel it, but some of us are like, the more that you get clarity, the more you clear your shadows, you really start to see this connection between your inner world and your outer world. And if you're somebody that's like in the spiritual community, a lot of people, and not even that, a lot of people believe that your beliefs create the reality that you live in. So if you really truly believe that, I'm hoping that in this class we start putting it into practice. We start observing ourselves and watching, like, and like, look, like, what are my beliefs? Like, what are my deep beliefs? What is this belief around this trauma? Like, where did it come? Well, it came from the trauma. It came from whatever happened in childhood. What beliefs did I form about it? That takes you can't just sit there and like, give me an answer. What's your belief? Tell me right now. It takes time, guys. And even in 6 weeks, you're probably just scratching the surface of something. But what it is teaching you, this is the great part of the book and the method that I'm trying to show you. It's simple. It is agnostic, whatever you want to call it. It's not tied to religion. I'm a very spiritual woo-woo person. If we say that spirituality is like your woo, I'm probably like a level 10. And so I don't want to come at people with a level 10 woo. That might scare you. I can be very scary. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I joke around. I'm also like, I'm not a conventional person. I'm just me. And I've had this experience and I want to share it with you. And I know it'll change you. And you really start to look at yourself and be able to change yourself. And that is not to say change yourself to fit everybody, but change yourself to fit who you really are, to accept who you really are, to understand who you are and the decisions that you've made and accept them and move on. Like, move on, people. So that's what we're going to do. It's 6 weeks of fun, 6 weeks of connecting. And that's really the big thing, guys. The last 2 years have been rough. I mean, I don't know how some people are really doing this because I went out in 2019. I was like, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to figure myself out. You know, had I known COVID was coming, I don't know if I would have done that, but I did. So I was already pretty much quarantined for a year before quarantine. So when quarantine rolled around, I was much more ready for it, and I could handle it. But even I have my limits, people. So I don't know what you're doing if you don't have some sort of either an outlet, a practice, something. Let shadow work be your practice because it is going to help you start on the outside. You're going to look at your triggers, you're going to look at your relationships, and it's going to lead you to your inside very gently, very easy to read book, and then it'll ask you questions and you answer them. And that's what really gets you taking like, oh, this outside thing is now making me think of things that happened in my childhood and my beliefs. So what this method is really all about, beliefs. I didn't like go out and study all kinds of different shadow work methods, guys. I just did my thing, and then someone said, oh, that's shadow work. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to really get into it now. So I just took the experience that I had, the transformation that I had, and I tried to take out those steps, distill it. I like to say distill, because the book is very concentrated. I'm finding that people, let's get the book out. Here it is. I'm finding that people either, you can breeze through the book, it's not very long, so you can just read through it and kind of get a general sense of everything. But if you really want to do the work, you got to read through it. You got to take your time. I know some folks that are kind of like just stuck in chapter 1 because it's like, this is a lot of information. It's very concentrated. So I consider the class the water that you take with this book, if you need it. I truly believe we can self-heal. We can heal ourselves. And all of the other things, I want to talk about the other things that people keep bringing up in the group. And I'm like, I turned on post-approval because I'm trying to steer the conversation now. I'm trying to take this where it was originally intended, and that is around this method of shadow work. I'm not trying to cut off all other conversation, but I'm considering this a classroom space, and we're learning about this method. If you're not interested in learning about this particular method, it's probably not the group for you. But I will tell you that the things that we talk about, somebody posted something and they said, what are your shadow work tools? And I was like, huh? Like, shadow work is the tool. Like, what are you talking about? So I'm very mindful of words. I'm a writer, and words matter. Words matter because people coming from all different levels are going to hear whatever you're saying in a very different way based on what they know, what they've experienced, etc. So I really try to pick my words carefully. And that is why I wrote the book in the manner that I did. It's very simple. I think I like simplicity, number one. I have been down the spiritual road of just everything, you guys. Like, I have crystals. I'm like, I got crystal over here. I got crystals. I got oracle cards and tarot stuff. I'm not deep into that stuff. I like astrology. To me, they're all different avenues, but shadow work is an avenue in and of itself. It really is. Like, you might look at astrology, and astrology will tell you that you have shadows in this lifetime or whatever. But again, the focus of this group and this book is this method. The method being, we look at our beliefs. We get down to the beliefs. The beliefs are the root cause of all of the troubles here. The beliefs and our relationship with ourselves. If we want to get to the core of our troubles, of anything that you're coming and saying on this group, most of the time the answer is that. It is, let's look at your beliefs around this. Let's look at how those beliefs were formed. Does it make sense? Were you under some trauma when you formed those beliefs? Were you a little kid who didn't know how to process something? And so you made up a weird belief about yourself, and then it just kept getting reinforced? Because what happens, guys, is when we talk about this inner and outer world, which we're going to get really into in the class, I want to just dig into this and get people thinking. Your inner world are your thoughts and your emotions. And so, which comes first? I always like to joke about this. I'm like, it's like the chicken and the egg. Does your thought come first, or does your emotion come first? Or the feeling? Thoughts and feelings. Let's use the word feelings here. I think feelings come first. I don't know, maybe it's a male-female yin-yang thing. I think we start with a feeling and then a thought forms. I think that we can all share the same feeling, but associate different thoughts with it, and that's usually where we start arguing about stuff. Also, feelings, just like thought, feelings are complex. There are different levels of feelings. And I've found that as I've done this shadow work and really cleared myself of a lot of stuff and living more consciously, more empowered and authentically, you feel things deeper. Like, you have more feelings, you have higher feelings. So if we talk about vibration, I feel like that's like a mainstream thing now. We can talk about energy and vibration and you're not sounding too woo-woo. That's like a woo level, like it's acceptable woo now, like a woo level 2 or 3, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, when you were down in a lower vibration, thinking more as a thinking negative thoughts, loneliness, depression, all of these things are lower vibe. They keep you in a lower state of mind. That lower state of mind, where your thoughts come, is associated with those feelings that you're having. And then they just sort of play off of each other. And then guess what happens? They form your beliefs. Guys, we got to start piecing together all these things that we know about all these different spiritual stuff and science. Science is already talking about how we can rewire our brains and and I've known since I was a little kid how we are programmed through subconscious programming. We learned about that like when you were little, like the commercials, they would flick something. And it's really the exact opposite. Programming is really the repetition of something again and again and again and again. And so that's why I'm really focusing on this method of shadow work. And I'm going to say it again and again and again. That's what this group is about. What happens, though, when we're caught? I've seen a lot of posts lately when we're caught in this negative, oh, my mind is like, I can't stop the thoughts. There's just mental chatter, or blah, 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 blah. You do realize now, and you may not realize it now, but you will, that constant stream of chatter that you can't calm down is contributing, it is programming you. It is programming you unconsciously. And so one of the things we want to do through this shadow work is get a better handle on our inner world by controlling something that the things that we can control. We can control our experience in the outer world. We can control who we interact with. We can control the information that we take in through all of our senses. And in doing that, we can elevate ourselves. We can raise our vibration. You certainly can. Everybody knows that now. I'm not even going into all that because we know it. And it's a little bit of woo, but it's true, You know that when you're feeling good and acting nice, like things just go better. You feel more connected. You connect with people. I want that to be a big part of this. I'd love for us to connect more in the group. It's hard with this ginormous group, but we can try, and I'm going to try to think of some innovative ways to connect people. But I certainly want to do that as part of this 6-week course. And so if you're concerned about the cost of the course, I don't know what to say except it's worth it. I mean, like, what is worth your own transformation? Like, I don't even want to put a dollar amount. It's invaluable to me. I'm like, I don't know what price to put on it. that you can't put a price on it. So you have to determine what value does it have to you? What would it mean to you to transform yourself? What would it mean to you to stop that negative self-talk, to be authentic, to set up some boundaries and actually start living your life for yourself and developing a loving relationship with yourself, so that love that you think that you're giving to all these people, you really think you're giving it out there, but it's coming through it's being distorted through this pain. And the pain is really, for the most part, most people lately, you're just hurting yourself. So we got to figure out why we have this broken relationship with our inner selves, and it usually points back to the traumas and the childhood and all that stuff. But once we can sort that out and see that it was like a mistake, it was all, we weren't seeing clearly, we were in the midst of trauma, that really does open, when you look at it and we can discuss it maybe together, that helps too, to connect with people and be like, I went through this too, I understand, you're gonna get through it. That kind of stuff, that creating that connection is a big part of this. Let me see what else. I'm saying, I kind of lost my train of thought there, sorry. Yep, we got our inner worlds, we got our outer worlds. So as far as like who should read this book, well, I think everybody should read it personally. I personally see this book as, it's so simple. It may look too simple to some people. I'm like, trust me, work through the exercises and tell me it's too simple, okay? Try it. And I'll share some of those exercises in the group. So no, you don't have to buy the book. You can hang out in this group, and if you are, focused, intentional, you can do it. I did it. I'm like, I just figured it out. That's why I'm like, everybody can do this work. And that's why I want you to read this book and understand that it's set up so that you can discover yourself. You can discover what works for you. You're going to read some of these things and be like, this is not, this isn't working, but this is. And that's what I want you to start getting more comfortable with. Like, I hear her saying that, but here's how I'm applying it in my life. And I call that mapping. It's kind of like a form of projection and how we understand each other. We take whatever's being said and map it to a similar situation so that we can understand. And that's what I'm trying to do with you, but kind of like in the opposite way. I want you to map it to what you discover about yourself and be like, okay, well, this is how I operate, and this is how I approach life, and these are my beliefs, and I know who I am because these are my beliefs, and it makes me feel good about the world. It helps me to get through life. It helps me to deal with this ridiculous COVID lockdown crap. Your beliefs have to help you get through life. Otherwise, you're going to be very disgruntled. You're going to be very unhappy. And I think there are a lot of people right now who are disgruntled and unhappy because this inner world and your outer world are not in alignment. You hear people talking about being in alignment, and that is certainly part of it. Your physical, mental, and emotional states are out of whack. When they're all lined up, things flow. Things are easier. There's more, you are in a higher state of being. And when you speak to people, you speak to understand, you speak to connect. It's just a different space of being. I don't even know how else you gotta try it. And that, when you're feeling when you're feeling great and like just things are just going well, you can be like that a little bit more once you become aware of your shadows and address them and face them. And so there's a lot less focus on the trauma. When people are just starting out and just getting into this work, I have defined some different levels of shadow work, like what stage you're in. If you're just starting, you're kind of in that stage where you're just waking up to like some reality of like, okay, this is not a good situation that I'm in, and I'm really tired of being in this situation, like really. And so you start kind of waking up to like, okay, this is happening for the umpteenth time, and I'm done. I'm ready to start something new. Start something new. You have to take a step towards your transformation. So that's the other part of this, of the 6-week course. And I'll try to, of course, weave that in week to week when I do these videos. We have to take action. I got caught up in like that whole spiritual community, and you're just posting memes and I just felt like for a while that's all I was doing was posting memes, and it did get me into a much better state of mind. I'm like, I gotta say, there was some positives to that. But I had to catch myself and be like, well, I need to translate this into life. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm always a pretty outgoing, friendly person anyway. Not that you need to be outgoing and friendly to everybody, but I'm always in a pretty good state of mind anyway. Let's put it that way. It's easy for me to connect with people, and I don't take things personally. So There's that. Anyway, what am I saying? I'm saying come to the class. It'll be fun. I like to joke around. What else? What else do I like to do? I like to be silly. I consider myself kind of like a sci-fi nerd. I'm probably going to talk about The Matrix a lot because it's one of my favorite movies and a new one's coming out. And I'm excited because I see the parallel here. I'm like, you start seeing parallels and stuff. You start seeing more things when you clear those shadows. It's really cool. I see how that movie was a paradigm shifting movie, and I talk about a paradigm shift in the book. Speaking of the book, let's talk about it. Healing Through Shadow Work, Chapter 1. So in Chapter 1, guys, Chapter 1 is really just, and I would like people that are new to the group, people that are new to shadow work, spend some time understanding what shadow work is. What is it? Why do you do it? What does it involve? How do I need to prepare myself? Yes, get a journal and a pen. But yeah, you do need to do a little bit of research. This is like your research and easing into it. So in Chapter 1, we talk about paradigms. We talk about where to start with shadow work, how to be authentic, the effects of fear, and then how we perceive life through those broken glasses. And that's how when we have that unhealed pain, it's like you're looking at life through broken glasses. Everything you see is distorted. You don't know what's right or wrong. You have to clear those distortions. You have to heal those shadows. And I don't mean like get rid of them. Heal to me means you look at them, you face them, you understand them. You let go of what doesn't work for you and you integrate i.e. accept the rest. Integration just means accept it. You accept it as a part of yourself. That's who I am. But don't get attitude about it. I don't like when people get attitudes. Okay, so when we talk about shadows, I'm just going to read the definition. And this is we'll take another 10 minutes and then we'll be done with this video. But shadow work has become a buzzword in the spiritual community. Everyone wants to do it and aren't even sure why. This workbook defines shadows in a few ways. Shadows are the unhealed parts of ourselves that stem from emotional pain and trauma from the past. These often keep us stuck in life, usually in unhealthy relationships. Been there. Shadows are parts of our personality that we are embarrassed or ashamed of and often hide from others. These often stem from childhood and our beliefs that they are bad, wrong, or immoral. And shadows are also found collectively around the issues that we as a collective society ignore, hide, or are ashamed of. We call these collective shadows. And y'all, we need to talk about the collective shadow. That's a whole other topic. That's in Chapter 5 of this book. And I have always debated, I'm like, should we just start with the collective shadows? Because that's what's in our face right now. But I feel like we're not ready. Maybe I don't think we're ready yet for the collective. I want us to work on our own shadows first, because really healing the collective shadow, you got to heal your own shadow. And guess what? You just helped heal the collective. But we have to talk about what it means, these other shadows. We'll get to it. We'll get to that. Shadow work explores the parts of ourselves that we normally keep hidden from the world. When we work through our shadows, we finally process repressed emotions, release them, and accept ourselves. You will see as you work through this book that shadow work is really about emotional healing. Further, the tools provided here extend beyond looking at your shadows and can be used as a way to process your emotions. And that's the beauty of the book, guys. Shadow work is about emotional healing. And I think even further, I would take it a step further. I just wrote a blog about this. It's about healing our hearts. I'm going to keep saying that because when we have these shadows, it's like a dagger sometimes to our heart. It just depends on what the wound is, but we end up hurting our heart, covering it up, putting walls up. We do all of these things to cover up that pain in our heart. And it really is there. I mean, it's like an energy that is there that has to be cleared away. Anna, one of our moderators, was talking about energy yesterday. And I went down that path of energy, and I'm like, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I need to see and understand it better. What do you mean by energy? So I look at energy as feelings. It's the quantification through science of feelings. That's what I feel like, that's what energy is to me. Well, feeling is also emotion. The emotion that we put behind the feeling can tell us whether it will be a high vibe thing or a low vibe thing. We can look at the same thing and put different emotion to the same thing, and someone can elevate something and someone can make it low vibe and awful. So the more that we just understand that that is possible, and the more that we understand we have a choice and can be conscious of the things that we say and do. And we can try to be more in alignment with whatever's happening on the inside. A lot of times we try to suppress that. We're letting our woo out, guys. We're going to let it out real slow. Don't worry. I'm not going to do anything drastic. But that's where we're headed. And so we're moving there as a society. I mean, like, if you've lived some life on this earth over the last, I don't know how many years, like, life has changed. People are more open, especially men. I feel like men are kind of waking up to their softer sides. Women have already had it, but it's been even suppressed in women. We've been in a patriarchal society. Come on, we know that. We don't need to go into the history of all that. We have been, you know, and I have been through the experience of, like, growing up, and you have to, like, be like a man and talk like a man at work and do this and that to get ahead in life. And no, you don't. No, you don't. We have to be balanced, guys. We're looking for balance here. So one of the goals that I would have with the course, and even through reading this book, I want you to be able to have your inner world, have that nurturing, receiving, feminine. It's a feminine energy. They call it a feminine energy. That's all. If you want to do positive and negative, it's a negative, but not in a bad way. It's just the opposite of this other thing, the positive. So we need to have this more feminine energy, inward, reflecting, nurturing, shadow, like in the dark, things that are grown in the dark. Plants are grown in the dark. We have that side, but then we have to, what happens to the plant? It comes out of the dirt. We have to shift it over to life and implement these things in our lives and live our lives in alignment with what's happening on the inside. That's really the point of it. And hopefully what's happening on the inside is a lovely thing, so that what comes out is a lovely thing. But sometimes we're seeing that what's coming out of people is not so lovely. So is that what's inside of you, or are you conflicted? That's what's telling me there's some conflict there, or there's some things that need to be healed. So we're going to get there with this class. That's pretty much all I had to say, guys. What questions do you have? I'm going to try to come on every Monday with a video. I'm going to post some content this week in relation to just the getting started chapter 1 of this book, which is the mindset. I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do a little more, wasn't I? Okay. I'm not going to read too much, but I am going to talk about paradigms really quick. Shifting paradigms. I'm using big words, y'all. Paradigms are sets of beliefs that all work together to allow you to make sense of the world. The methodology presented in this workbook is designed to show you a new paradigm by breaking down your old ones. This workbook teaches you a repeatable, practical process for looking at your beliefs, analyzing them, and determining whether it's time to change them based on how it's affecting your life. That's it. At the heart of this work are your beliefs. We'll dig into how and why in Chapter 2. You will learn how to recognize beliefs that may be holding you back or keeping you stuck, and how to take action to change them. By looking at the patterns of our beliefs, we can start to better understand the paradigm within which they fit. The paradigm presented here is designed to encompass all other paradigms. This means your belief systems fit inside of the paradigm presented here. That's why I say it's agnostic. You don't need to be into whatever, any brand of spirituality or religion or whatever. You can believe in nothing because it has nothing to do with that. You do not have to fear losing your core beliefs, but rather be open to examining old beliefs in new ways. So I talked about a paradigm shift. I talked about the Matrix, because I believe the Matrix was a great creative expression. It was a great way to show, it introduced us to inner worlds and outer worlds. Very, what's the word? Cleverly. I think it was very clever. And it could be interpreted, the movie was interpreted in so many different ways, but the way I'm interpreting it as it relates to what we're talking about here is, you do have an inner world. Now in the Matrix, was the Matrix the inner world? Was the Matrix the outer world? I mean, just depends on how you look at stuff. But the things that happened in the Matrix, I can't even, I'm like, I don't know, I can't explain it. I'm gonna make sure that we align this work with my favorite movie, no matter what. But as far as this book being, I think this book is a similar thing. I think it's a red pill it's like, if you had to take the red pill, I would give you this book to read, because it's going to clear you. It's going to clear all your distortions, all those little things are going to pop off of you. You're going to wake up and be like, what? No. Actually, yeah, but it's not going to be that literal. So, shifting paradigms. A paradigm to me is a set of beliefs. Like we talk about your emotions and your thoughts create your beliefs. The more they are repeated in your mind and go down into your subconscious and form your reality. That's how it works. Talk to science. That's what they said too. So, so there's that. So you have your beliefs, but then you have like kind of like sets of beliefs. And that's what I'm saying is a paradigm. So your paradigm, and we can just call it a box. I like to think of like little points on a model. Let's just call it a box for now. You are inside that box. You have your beliefs, and that's your paradigm. And sometimes your box overlaps with other people's boxes, and that's cool because that's how you connect with people, by having that some way to connect through a belief. A lot of people connect that way. You can also connect through compassion, through your pain. Be like, oh, they're in another box over there in their own paradigm, but my God, I went through the same thing with my husband and kids, and I really feel for them. That's a way to connect with people too, and that's through compassion. That's through your heart. So you don't always have to have the exact same beliefs, but you can get heart-centered, and when you get heart-centered, all those little boxes and overlapping things don't even matter. So this book, again, I believe it is a giant box, and I believe you can come in no matter where you're coming from. Where you're coming from is kind of like the sticking point with what people are posting. You're posting where you're coming from right now. You're posting your beliefs. I'm all into Carl Jung. I'm all into whatever you're all into. Whatever kind of energy work you're into, that's great. That's supplemental right now. It's extraneous right now. Right now we're focusing on healing through shadow work. And I want you to get it. Whoever is ready to start doing this work, we're starting. I done already started. But plan to start this week. Get a journal. You do need it. I think you need to write something down. I know we were having some discussions about, I don't want to write in a journal. It's, some people have some trepidation about journaling as to, like, who might see it. And so those are opportunities. Everything's an opportunity to work on trust issues. That's some shadow work there. In the meantime, at least start doing that inner. If you're not going to write it down, then think about it in your mind and pretend you're writing it. That's introspection. You're doing inner work. So that, guys, this is where we're going, and I hope this is something that interests you. I know there are a lot of people, it seems like you are interested and want the help, but now you got to take it. You are being offered help. You are being offered help from somebody who has healed her wounds, who will take you into this space and make you feel good. I will connect with you. I can connect with anybody. I have something in common with literally everybody I meet. So I want to make you feel welcome. I want to make you feel supported. But at the same time, just FYI, we have the boundaries of our group and what the group is about. And that it is changing a little bit, so bear with us as we make this transition. All right, everybody. I'm looking forward to meeting more people. Check out the class. I need to better up the marketing words, maybe use some of the words I talked about today, because I do think this book will transform you. I think you're going to start feeling better, and you're going to walk away with some tools to just have. You'll just have a new way of looking at things, so you're not so overwhelmed, so you're not having all the thoughts running through your head. And so you're really cultivating a relationship with yourself. And so that relationship is personal. That relationship is like a relationship with God. If you're not into God, that's how people view their relationship with God. It's sacred, it's special, and you should honor it always. And when you do that, you can honor other people because you realize, oh wow, they're doing the same thing. They may not be aware of it yet, but they're doing the same thing. So here we go, guys. And I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.